hope you're having a great day over there. And this is my first Facebook Live since everything got changed on Facebook. So I apologize. I was a few minutes late. I'm like trying to figure out like how to navigate everything on here. I hope I did it right so that you guys can see me on here. And I wanted to do a webinar today on predicting your puppy's needs to prevent mouthing from happening or puppy biting, because I know a lot of people got, puppies here and just aren't sure like haven't how to navigate all this biting here. Oh, hi Judith, good to see you. So Judith, if you would like, you could share with us what is the age, name, gender, breed of your dog, and if you have any questions that you want to ask me or struggles that you're having. So I couldn't figure out how to screen share because I haven't, again, done a live in a while, but I actually have never done screen sharing on Facebook, so I couldn't figure that out today. So you're just gonna have to see my lovely face for most of the time. I wanted to start off with sharing some stories with you. So I'm wondering, like, how many of you have, a situation where you're sitting there and you're watching TV in the evening and your puppy starts going crazy, like jumping on you and biting, and you're just like, I've had a really long day at work and I just don't want this to happen. And I'm trying to watch the football game and my puppy's going crazy. That's a really common thing that I've had a lot of clients tell me. I can think of quite a few puppies that did this, and the owners were just like, I just don't know what to do. I'm like, I've had a long day. I'm trying to relax. My puppy is going crazy. All right. So, Judith is here to just learn more. That's wonderful. It's good to see you. She's actually a dog colleague of mine, so I'm glad that you're on here. Okay, so then, sometimes we're just dealing with overexcitability. Like I had a client recently that when she just came home from work, her puppy was just jumping on her and mauling her, biting her, all play. Nothing, aggressive that was going on here, but it just was really stressful for her. She loved her puppy and she hadn't had a dog in a while, and it was just every single time she got home, it's like, and all this energy, after a busy day at work. So some of you guys, I'm sure can relate to that. And then I know some of you could even be struggling with puppies that are biting so hard that you're just getting marks on your bodies or even bruising going on. Hopefully not, but if you definitely are, having bruising, make sure you comment below. Great. Okay, so we got Ann Vickers here. Hi, Ann. It's so good to see you. I worked with Ann a little while back, and she's also a good friend of mine too. And she is saying that Belle bites at our feet. Oh, yes, that's a common one. I'm sure like the information today will really help you with that. But if you also want to tell us like at what times a day Belle does that, that may help us troubleshoot a little bit more. But, that's a bulk of what today is about, is being able to troubleshoot this. Because if we're able to predict why our puppy is biting us, what their need is, then we can kind of even preempt it from happening, or at least stop it in the moment when it's happening. And Anne, can you remind me what the age of your puppy is? I know you recently got Belle. I would love to get a reminder on that. And I'm also wondering if anyone has a puppy that bites when they play. Is that a common thing that's happening to anyone? I know a lot of people deal with that. If yes, go ahead and put a comment below. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, why do puppies bite, and is it actually a healthy response? And actually, it is a healthy response for puppies. They actually explore with their mouths. So as humans, we explore a lot with our hands when we're younger, although, many kids are oral. My child was one of them. But puppies are mostly exploring with their mouths. So they're very, very exploratory. Okay, Belle is 6 months. Okay, awesome. So that kind of goes into play with, normally we have a lot of puppy biting happening before 6 months age. And then once that 6 months of age starts, if we continue with the training that you've learned today, you can really stop, a lot of that biting around that age, and from then on forward. Obviously, puppies bite for playing and exploring. And most importantly, when they're younger, they're actually learning about bite inhibition. So a lot of us don't even think of that as average dog owners. Like, oh, this is so annoying to stop. They're actually biting you, possibly to learn when the bite's too hard and when it's, gentle, etc. Because when a dog gets older, if they're upset about something, just like humans, like we don't usually bite people, but if we get that mad, we're going to punch somebody. I mean, there's a limit to when that's going to happen, right? Hopefully we learn enough emotional regulation that we don't walk around as adults like punching everybody that we see. But for almost everyone on this earth, there is a point that if somebody doesn't honor our boundaries and keeps pushing us, we will excel to yelling, hitting, punching, etc. A dog will excel to growling, barking, and progress to biting. And if they were a puppy that learned about bite inhibition, hopefully when they're triggered, they're going to be using a bite that's of less power initially and progressing towards bites that are more intense or hard, if the minor bite wasn't listened to. So it's very, very important that we do not use physical force when our puppies are biting us. So sure, a lot of you have heard on the internet or read, slap the dog in the nose when they bite you, or push down on the tongue, or yell at them or push them away and say no. All of those things will exasperate the situation. The puppy, could get intimidated. They also could start getting aggressive. And we definitely don't want to create those things from happening. So you want to make sure that we teach it in a very gentle way, right? And if they learn that exploring with their mouths is okay, but there's a limit to the amount of pressure that you're going to allow, then we're teaching that healthy bite inhibition. So I hope that kind of eases some of your stress to know that it is a good thing that it is happening and it is normal. And we can eventually kind of have a grading system on like, okay, the harder the bite is, the more I'm going to make sure that I apply these things today that Joanna teaches me. The lighter the bite is, maybe sometimes I just let it go because initially, because that is the dog learning about bite inhibition. And then once they hit 6 months of age, then it's time to say, no matter how you bite me, how hard or light it is, it's a good time for us to, work on meeting your need to prevent that or stop it from happening. So I will be doing a webinar tomorrow. It's live and it's $50 to attend, but you have a special for coming to the Facebook Live today for getting it for $25, and we will be going over a lot of this stuff today in more detail, as well as training your puppy a lot of awesome commands. So today we're going to focus on, again, predicting those needs. What are those needs? Does anybody have an idea on what some of the needs are when a puppy is biting? And if you do, go ahead and comment below. Right. So this must be new for a lot of you. So teething could be one. The puppy could be overly tired. They may want mental stimulation, physical exercise, or they could be overly aroused. And then Ann Vickers says attention. Absolutely. And I would say attention would probably fall under like mental stimulation, or over arousal level as well. But technically, I think we could add, attention in there too. So for teething, obviously that happens until about 6 months of age, and we need to do things to help like numb the gums a little bit so that they're not in so much pain. Frozen Kongs and frozen toys can work really well for that. How many of you have heard of a Kong? Comment below if you know what a Kong is and if anyone has used one of those. We'd love to know. You can stuff them with all sorts of things and throw them in the freezer. Another reason, definitely when they're younger than 6 months, it could still be happening at 6 months age, but probably less likely, is the puppy's overly tired. Great. So Judith said, Judith, oh my God, that's funny. Sorry about that. Judith says, yes, oh, it's a rubber toy. Yeah. So a Kong, I didn't actually bring one on today. Yeah, because I just got done with a client almost right before I came on here, but it is a rubber toy. It has a, small hole on one end, a larger hole on the other end, and you can put all sorts of stuff in there. Anne knows what it is. She puts in cheese spray for Bella. That's an awesome thing to put in there. Peanut butter can be great as well. You could even mix that stuff up with the dog's kibble too, so that it's not so rich. And they come in a lot of different sizes. Oh, so Anne says Belle does get overly tired sometimes. Okay, so then you want to think about the times when Belle is biting your feet. Do they happen at certain times of day? And are those times of day correlated to times that she could be overly tired? So let's say, after you learn this, you start wondering about it. You start noticing, gosh, it happens around like 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's almost, every day close to 11 o'clock. That could be your puppy saying it needs a nap. Puppies really can do well with a nap in the late morning or early afternoon. And same thing in the evening. If you start, like those people that are telling me like their puppies are crazy when they're trying to watch TV at night and they're just like, I can't relax. That's the worst. You've had a long day and your puppy's just going off the walls. If that happens with Belle at that time of day, then you could say, oh, maybe she needs an earlier bedtime. Maybe we need to put her down a little bit sooner. So I'm wondering here if anyone thinks their puppy needs a nap or if they think that their puppy needs an earlier bedtime. And if you didn't attend live, that's completely fine. You can drop comments throughout this entire call when I ask questions. I would love people to chime in, drop comments down there, ask me questions now and on the replay, because I will look back over them and I will answer your questions, reply to your comments. I want this to be a very active call where we're just really involved together. Okay, so then mental stimulation. So a lot of times when our puppies want attention, they are craving some form of mental stimulation. They want attention because they're bored, right? So another way could say boredom. So, like I'm on the phone, right? And you got a kid and your daughter comes over, or your kid, and just, pulling you. Hey, mom. You're sitting there thinking, why the heck do they want attention now when I'm on the phone? Like they didn't want attention all this other time throughout the day, right? So, it's really easy in that moment to then be like, hey, stop, and to give our child or a dog all this attention in those moments. So what you actually want to do is start preempting them, predicting them. So I remember this client of mine that had a coonhound, and she had like certain times where her dog was just barking and biting. And I asked her, I'm like, are they happening at certain times of day? And she's like, yeah. And she, we kind of like could predict that certain times of day were happening. It was when the dog wanted some mental stimulation. So she started giving the dog enrichment toys during those times of day. And guess what? The barking stopped. It wasn't even like that she, gave the dog barked and then she gave the toy and the barking stopped. You want to kind of avoid doing that if you can, because then you could be rewarding the barking. I would have the dog sit or do something first and try to get them to calm down and then give them the enrichment toy. But even better is the next day to be like, gee, I know, at about 3 o'clock or so, when I'm working from home, that my dog all of a sudden needs all this attention and I can't give it to him because I have a working hours and a boss and I gotta be there. So yeah, you could just be like, okay, I'm gonna give my dog an enrichment toy before 3 o'clock. That could be 5 minutes before 3 or a half an hour or 15 minutes. So a little bit before then to get some of that mental stimulation out. Oh, great. So Anne was saying that she had put her down for a nap when she was biting. So I also would wonder, like, can you notice that she's getting tired before she goes to the biting? So like I like using human examples a lot because I think it's easier to relate to. So my daughter like always needed, she still does need a lot of sleep. She's like me, I do too. But she would need a super early bedtime, and that's really not uncommon for most toddlers. But for her, it was super important, or she would have just a complete and utter meltdown, screaming everything. So I could wait till the screaming happened at 7 or 7:30 when she was younger and put her down then, or I could say, why don't we do a 6 or 6:30 bedtime? Right? So that's what I did. And most of the time I didn't have that screaming happening because I helped her settle down before then. So that's a good thing to think about with your puppies too. And when they are biting and going crazy, their cortisol levels are spiking. So if you put them down during that, they may go to sleep, or they may just be like, I can't settle down now. And then I would give them something to calm down with, do some slow petting or some chew toys or something. And then the next day, do it a little bit earlier. So enrichment. Okay. So fun. And, on the call, like, tomorrow if you come on the webinar, I will show you a lot of videos on different things too. On here, you're gonna, I'll give you a lot of great information that's gonna be helpful. And you can definitely search any of this stuff on Google. So you could do a kibble toss. So literally take the dog's food and throw it all over the floor. That could be in a form of enrichment. Kongs are great. The Kong wobbler, snuffle pads, Buster cubes, bully sticks, anything that's going to get their dog to use their mind and figure things out. The biggest thing is that it's not just toys that are laying down on the floor. I can't tell you how many of my clients say, well, I have 100 toys all over the place for my puppy, or 50 or 20 or whatever. Wonderful. I'm glad that you love your puppy so much and you have so many options for them. That is great. Wonderful. What we want to change, though, is don't have them lying all over the floor. Pick them up. Put them up high in a bin or behind closed doors, and only have a few out each day. Change them around. Even bring those enrichment toys out during those attention-getting times before those, before your dog wants that attention, 15 minutes before, predict it, and then bring them out. And if you change them around and they're not the same stuff every day, that's when it becomes enriching. It's like you go to the zoo and you see, unfortunately, the keepers don't get paid a lot of money. I used to work at zoos and I trained a lot of animals at different zoos. And that's a form of enrichment too, training. So you could, train your dog during that time as well if you had time. A lot of them they don't get paid enough. They don't have enough time and energy to do all this enrichment for the animals. So they get bored and they're pacing and different things, but they really do try to do the best that they can. When I lived in Utah, they actually had an enrichment coordinator at the Utah Hoggle Zoo. It was so cool. It was like one of the few zoos that I knew that actually had someone that was specialized in doing that. And they would put different things in there for the animals to do. But imagine if that thing was in there every single day, all day. It just becomes boring. It becomes background noise. You got to change it up, and check that out when you go to the zoo, because it's kind of fun to see if you can figure out with some of the enrichment things they add in there. It can inspire you to think of some ideas for your dog as well. So I think that's a really great one to think about for the attention, is that enrichment, because there are many times your dog wants attention when I can't give it to them. So for example, I know I need to make a phone call, and I know that around this time my daughter needs attention because we didn't go bike riding first, or she didn't get the energy out, or whatever. So then I could give her something to do while I'm going to be on the call, right? I could give her enrichment. Here's some painting to do. Here's some Play-Doh to play with. Here's something to do. We do this all the time with our kids. It's the same thing with our dogs. Times nowadays, you just give them the iPad, right? I tend to try to not do that frequently unless my daughter's sick. We can't do that with dogs. So think about in the old times before we had the internet. What did we give to our kids? And can we do the same for our cute little puppies, right? Physical exercise is also a good one for attention too, but again, you're on the phone, you can't really exercise your dog, maybe, unless you're going to throw the ball while you're on the phone at the same time. You could. So that might be more like when you know, okay, like my dog needs attention and I actually have the time, right? So I think this is kind of one that we all know about. I think most of us know to physically exercise our animals, and that will decrease biting. And again, are you doing it at the correct time of day, or are you doing it when it's convenient for you? So are you saying like, I like to do walk, right when I get up in the morning and then right before I go to bed? Well, if you got a puppy, I'm going to tell you right now, they want exercise in the middle of the day there. So figure out when they want it. Maybe, if you have a flexible boss, maybe you can move your lunch to being close to that time. Maybe you can hire a neighbor to come and exercise your dog. You can enroll family members. There are a billion solutions to that. And if you're struggling with that, comment below. Let me know. Like, my dog needs exercise at such and such time. I don't know what to do because I got to work and all this stuff. And I'm happy to brainstorm solutions for you. So physical exercise, generally is playing, not leash walks. So leash walks don't serve as much on the exercise realm. For some dogs they can, but definitely in puppies. They have a lot of energy and they're on this leash and they're like, I can't move around, it's restricting them. So a lot of times they don't get the exercise they need on a leash walk. Playing will suffice much better. And I'm wondering, what games do you play with your puppy? So comment below, let me know what games or physical exercise you do with your puppy. I would love to hear about that. I want to talk about like the different ways to play with our dogs, because normally what we do is we get our dogs, right, and then we want to play, and we can use our hands, and I can't tell you how many kids I see doing this, right? Where do you think the puppy's mouth is going to go? Where would you guess? Do you think it's gonna go on the hand? Probably, right? So teach your kids, especially, and yourself, that if you're going to play with your puppy, have a toy in your hand, so the puppy's gonna go here. Same thing if you're, if the ankle biting's happening, then we want to make sure that, right, if this is happening down here during play, again, if you're playing with your dog, you're probably not doing this, Anne, but some other people might not think about it, and they're doing this. You're teaching your dog to tug on your pants, or even if they're tugging on your pants and then you're doing this, or like trying to get them off of it, they're going to perceive that as play even if you're not trying to play with them. So the first thing that you want to do is, figure out the need, right? And if it is play, then, get a toy in your hand and redirect your puppy to play tug on the toy instead of on your pant leg. Okay? And really make sure that when you're doing play that you're rewarding good behavior as well. So let's see. We got some cool comments here. So Anne says, chase. Oh, okay, so we do chasing. We throw toys for a fetch. We move a rope for her to chase and pull. Wonderful. Okay, so chase, that's a good thing to bring up. So if you're running around your dog and following him and chasing him around and you have nothing in your hands, that can entice your puppy to bite you. Come turn around and bite you or grab your pant leg. So I would make sure if you're doing chase to definitely have something in your hand and be ready to redirect your dog to the toy, because if they're just thinking a straight chase, they're going to eventually want to put their mouth on something, and it's going to be your hands, your clothes, your pants, your socks, your shoes. But if you can say, look, to this instead, as soon as you start seeing that they want to come after you and you throw out that toy, then you're encouraging them to do that. We're going to talk about fetch and tug here. I want to see what Judith said here. We're playing with a toy tied to a string or something. Ooh, okay, so like those lures. Yeah, and that's something you know, you could use to Anna's, you know, it kind of comes on a long string and it has something attached to it. Let me know if you've used a lure, and you move it around, and then the dog, you know, basically chases that. And if the tips that I've given you so far and you're playing chase and your dog's still biting you, then I would stop playing chase and I would just move a toy around and have him chase that instead. So when you guys are playing with your dogs, I'm wondering, do you do structured play? Or do you just let your dog do whatever he wants? Comment below and let me know. I want to know about that. And you might be wondering what is structured play. So I'll kind of go over that. And I do want you to comment on if you're doing this or not, because it will be really helpful to do and play. So it can be really easy to start playing with your dog and not worry about what your dog was doing. My dog came up to me, jumped on me, or started biting me. Okay, let me play with you. Okay, great. What is just reward? The jumping, the biting, right? So instead, say, look, like I know that my dog wants to play right now, and I actually do too, but he just jumped and bit me. So instead, I'm going to get him to sit first. I'm going to ask him to sit, and then I'm going to get the toy out and play. So you want to make sure you start the play session on a positive note with good behavior. You want to end the play session that way too, because your dog's probably really amped up. We want to make sure that there's, you know, a lot of good things that are getting rewarded here. And then during the play, do you let your dog's arousal get up and up and up? So over arousal level is another one, right? So, and that could cause your dog to, you know, bite your feet and your ankles and your pants as well. And if you start and end the play session on a good note, that's wonderful. But do you also like have some downtime in there? So imagine this. Okay, I'll tell you, I used to live with my parents. So, you know, my dad would come in the room, my daughter's, you know, little toddler. Again, I like to use human examples because I think they're very relatable. Oh, Iris! You know, and he was sort of wrestling with her and just like doing all sorts of stuff all over the floor. And then she's like, ah! You know, going crazy. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, Iris, it's bedtime. How do you think that's going to go? You think that actually works really well? You know, it just kind of got started unexpectedly. It ended unexpectedly. She's already amped up, and then we're trying to transition to something that's more calming. It just doesn't work. You got to be able to say, look, end and start positively, but even better if you can get your family on the same page to be like, while I'm playing, can I get my dog to do some commands? Can I have my dog sit before I throw the ball every now and then or every time? Can I ask my dog to drop the rope toy? Can I ask my dog to drop the ball? Can I get my dog to sit or down or do some obedience commands during the tug game? And what that does is it actually decreases their arousal level, gets them into the cortex, their thinking part of the brain, causes them to not get so out of control that then they're like, I don't know what to do with my mouth except bite you. How many of you guys are doing structured play? Comment below. I want to know, and if you are, what do you do to help with that? Okay. I'm not getting any comments about that. So I'm thinking that this is probably something that that's new for people, and that's good. So hopefully this ends up helping some of the biting problems for you. So that goes with the over arousal level, right? Oh, Judith says we do. Great. Judith, what do you do? What does the structure play look like? I would love for you to share that. I think that'll be really beneficial for other people to hear about. Plus, you might even be thinking about some things that I didn't even say. So, over arousal level, again, we kind of tied into that with throwing commands during play. But also, you know, turning your back and ignoring your puppy when he bites you. So, I'm going to do a demo on this, and you know, some of you guys know me, some of you guys don't. I actually am I'm a single mom, and I live unfortunately in an apartment right now that doesn't allow dogs. Can you believe that? I've been training ever since I was 8 years old, so I don't have a dog right now. So you see like my trusty fake dog, but I kind of like it because I can make the dog do whatever I want. Okay, so let's just lower it down just a tad. So if you're dealing with your dog biting you, right, when they're over aroused, again, pushing off, kneeing, all of that stuff can all be perceived as play. It also could be being perceived as aversive. So you really want to make sure that you turn your back. And I'm going to see if I can get my eyes in here a little bit more too, so you can see. So when I turn my back, I'm actually not even giving the dog eye contact. So dog bit me, ouch! Turn back, come really boring. Now the dog's mouth is off of me or is in a sit, then I can resume the play or resume giving attention. And I can't tell you how many people go, oh, I do this. Well, that's great. You need to do it all the time, not just once or twice. You got to be consistent with it. And that's the number one thing that I see people don't doing is they just do it a few times. They think their dog's learned it. You really got to do it every time when you're playing. And make sure you're like, okay, I noticed you're over aroused. You bit me again. Ouch. I turn my back. I remove the toy. Okay, if the dog has a toy in their mouth, you're not going to yank it out. You're going to let them have the toy and you'll drop it and turn your back. And then, again, resume when they're not biting you. Okay? Really, 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 really important. If they're doing it when you're sitting, it's the same thing. So if you're sitting in the chair and they start jumping and biting, whether it's your legs or up higher or your hands, again, stand up, turn your back. It's going to cause your dog to no longer be able to be up by you. Okay? And then they stop, sit back down, and then you can probably just resume what you're doing. But make sure you reward the good behavior with a click or treat there. Okay, so Judith says, I have the dog show self-control first or practice listening, like you mentioned, as a reward, and then I allow the dog to get the toy. So yeah, that's pretty similar to what I'm saying. And Judith actually is a trainer as well. So listen to her comments because I think they'll be very beneficial for you guys. Okay, so when you turn your back and then you resume play, you could have a firmer boundary that says, oh, I'm going to resume the play when you sit, not just mouth off and standing, but also a sit. If your dog is really, really hyper, adding in that sit could be good. And you could add in the click and treat for the sit, not just I'm going to resume play, I'm also going to give you a click and treat and resume play. If you're not playing and a over arousal levels happen, you're just sitting there trying to watch a movie, and you know that mental stimulation has been met, exercise has been met, overly tired has been met, teething has been met, check those needs. They've all been met, and that's a really good time to then stand up, turn your back, click and treat the sit. Ignore that biting. Stand up, turn your back to the dog. Dog sits over here, click, and give that treat. So I click and then give the treat for the sitting, okay? And repeat. Realize that just doing that one time isn't what's going to do. What isn't going to change the behavior. Ooh, this is a great question. What good behavior can reward while playing with your puppy? So go ahead and comment below, and after you've learned and heard some of the stuff I said, what good behavior can your puppy do that you're going to choose to reward when you're playing with your puppy? I'm excited to read those comments. All right, so then again, we want to give our puppy attention when he is not biting you. That's really going to help out with over arousal level. So if you're just sitting there watching a show or working on the computer, and your puppy needs attention then, and again, you want to address those other needs first, because if you're just doing this, ignoring and rewarding the good behavior and those other needs aren't met, this ain't going to go very far. So you want to make sure that you're also giving your puppy attention when he's not biting you. So you're probably looking at me like, what? Oh, Judith just answered when for playing anything that's not biting. So not biting, she rewards, okay? And looking at you, so doing a watch, I'm assuming, like asking the dog to watch. Okay, correct me if that's different than what you mean. And backing up. Ooh, okay, so since she's a trainer, she taught her dog to back up. And then she probably throws the ball or plays tug then. It doesn't really matter what obedience command you do, because like a lot of us think, oh, it's gotta be the sit, it's gotta be the sit. I mean, sitting is great, but if you ask them to do other things, they gotta think about it more, and it's gonna tire them out and get them more in their cortex. Anne says, sits and waits for us to praise her. Okay, great. So definitely adding in those sits and wait, during the play will make a great thing to add in there, because then your dog is like starting to get aroused, and then you're saying, can you sit now? Can you wait now? Can you bring your energy back down during that play? Okay, so I was talking about giving your puppy attention when he is not biting you. What the heck does that mean? So, you know what we do in life? I really think it's interesting. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a little, I'm a lot on the conscious awareness end. I'm into yoga. I'm into how my thoughts affect my reality and myself and my emotions and all of that stuff. And it affects dog training. And that is one thing that I specialize in a lot, is looking at like that in my owners and helping them see that within themselves in a friendly and kind and compassionate way to help them create success. And one of the number one things that we do in life and in our brain on a day-to-day basis is we focus on what we don't like. Our brain will naturally go there. And most of us that haven't really paid attention to that don't even realize that we're doing that. We wake up in the morning, we start thinking about all the things that we need to do and everything that could go wrong and all these what ifs, and then the things don't go the way that we want them to. We start focusing on that and blah, 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 blah. Why the heck are we wired that way? Well, because we are in survival. When we go back to cavemen, right, they're in survival mode. Focusing on danger and avoiding danger was how we survived. Now we live in houses and apartments and things. We don't have as much danger happening outside of us, but our brains are still wired to do that. Having that awareness is a really crucial into being a good dog trainer. I feel like training's probably like, knowing the tools is good. And I think it's a really important thing, but having the right mindset around it, because your emotions and your thoughts affect your actions. So if you start being like, am I like paying more attention to my puppy when he's biting me than when he's not? Right? I wonder if I could pay more attention to my puppy when he's not biting me. For example, I'm on the phone again. It's my daughter. She's not coming over and tugging on me. I could give her eye contact. I could go in the fridge and give her a treat. Okay? I don't think that's bribery. There's nothing wrong with rewarding our kids for doing good things. We look at it in a good way, right? So here we are on the phone. Our kid does this, and then we immediately give him attention for that. So we get more of that. And we get more frustrated because we start focusing on the things we don't like. And we're in this circular cycle that we can't get out of. When I first started training, before I started working on that mindset, and I would run into these clients that were like this, and I couldn't get them out. Literally, they just stayed in there. Because it wasn't about knowing the tools. It was all up here and in here. So Judith said, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, right. So getting into that habit of being like, I'm working right now and I'm on my computer. Oh, wow, my dog is just sitting there. Oh my gosh, I'm getting dog so much attention right now. It doesn't have to be excited, because we don't want to like amp them up and then get them, just be slow petting. It could just be, good boy, Fido, or good job, Belle. It could be, oh, okay, good treat. I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can give our dogs attention. It could also be, oh, I have time now. Good at you. You're just sitting there quietly. Let's play. I'm going to reward you for just laying there, and we're going to do a play game. And guess what? The dog's going to be like, gee, I noticed that I was laying there for 5 minutes. And there's this repeated thing of when I'm laying or sitting for 5 minutes that sometimes my inner plays with me. It never does when she bites me. Gee, I think I'm going to do more of that. So Stephen says you want to be emotionally neutral when working with a dog. Okay. That's one perception. I see it differently. I don't think we are capable of being emotionally neutral because we're humans. I see us always feeling emotions because we're not robots. So I always tell my clients all of your emotions are normal. They're all valid. It's how you respond to your dog when you're feeling an emotion. So do you respond if you're feeling anxious? Do you train your dog from that anxious state where you're trying to push them off when they're biting you and get, or do you overtly look more neutral and confident? So you want to portray your training and your body language from that confident state despite what you're feeling and thinking, because you only have so much control over your thoughts and your emotions as a human being, unless you've really went to India and done a lot of internal work. But even them will tell you it's not easy to do, and there's always more of those levels to learn. So let's see. This is a great question. Do you give your puppy rewards when he is being good, he or she is being good and not biting you? Definitely comment below. I want to know who's doing this. And if you are, write yes and tell me what you're doing. If you're not, write no and then tell me what you want to do differently in the future. This will really help you have more success because you'll be writing it out and thinking about it. Reading the comments and answering the questions will help you get better results because you're getting your brain involved into thinking what you can do differently. All right, I'm excited to read what people write on that. And the next thing that I wanted to ask you is a little bit of a broader question. And I got people commenting now, so let's see what we wrote. Judith said yes. So she does give her puppy rewards when her dog is being good and not biting her. So I want to use another example of this so it makes sense. So like when I had Seiki, he was a rescue dog, so he had no training pretty much before I got him. And I'd be on my computer answering dog training emails or whatever at the time. And, he would just, every now and then would kind of jump up and want attention, right? So I did a lot of like, okay, I'm at my computer, handy dandy, clicking treats, right? All right. Oh, Seiki, it's not biting, it's lying down. All right, let's type some more. Oh, Seiki, it's not biting and lying down. It could be at a really high frequency, or it might be every, you might have some time of a minute or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 in between your clicks and treats and your rewards. But the dog is still getting rewarded. And if they're struggling with this, then you'd want less time in between those rewards. And then over time, you can increase that length of space in between those rewards. So my next question, wait, before I ask it, I want to see how many people are on. Okay, so I see I got 3 viewers. Okay, that's wonderful. All right, so everybody that's on the call has commented. Wow, that's great. I'm glad to see that. Makes me happy. Anne says, yes, we'll wait for her to sit before treating. Great job. Need to do more rewarding when she's not biting. Ooh, great awareness. So you have a whole opportunity to create a whole new possibility in relationship with your dog. I've even had, let me show you this trick, Anne, because this is something that I've had a lot of clients have happen. So they're just like, let me get my treat bag on me. So they're like walking through the house and not doing anything, really, except just walking, right? And then their puppy's like, well, as you're walking, I'm going to get after your pant leg. You walk over here. Okay, I'm going to get out of your pant leg again. And then you have this pattern where, then they're following you during that time. You're like, I don't know what to do. Well, again, you want to look at those needs that we talked about. But you also can, if it's just arousal level, you can just focus on rewarding the absence of the biting. So they come after you. At some point, they're going to stop. At that point, I can click and treat. And they go after you again. At some point, they're going to stop. It's going to be a millisecond long or a minute or two. It could be really short. You keep clicking during those time gaps. So they go after you. Oh, click there, stopped. Oh, went after you. Oh, click there, stop. So then eventually the dog starts realizing I'm getting rewarded when I'm not biting. So you start walking and clicking, walking and clicking. Or no, biting. Oh, bit me. Okay. Stop, be a tree, ignore, stop biting, click and treat, and click, not biting me, click. And I've had many clients where, actually there was a pump that I worked with that was like that, where the owner did that high of a frequency of treating to initially stop that. Bathrobes that were like long and hanging down. I was like, ooh, jump toy. Dresses, baggier types of pants. So let me know if that helps you, Anne. I would love for you to comment and tell me if it does or not. Because if it's not, and the other things that you've learned today are not helping, then tell me that, because I would like to get your questions answered. Okay. So, good question on awareness. What behaviors in yourself can you change to decrease puppy biting? Anne already kind of answered that. Need to do more rewarding when she's not biting. She said it makes sense. Anne says, anybody else have any other things that they can change within themselves to decrease puppy biting? So the number one thing in dog training is to take away the blame on the dog and do this. What can I do differently? You're not putting the blame on you. I want to make that clear. Some dog trainers will tell you that. I'm a positive trainer with the human and the dog in. It don't do you any good to beat yourself up either. So you just say, I noticed I just said my dog was stubborn when he was biting me. I just projected all my emotion on my dog. Can I tip the finger back on me and to say, I wonder what I could do differently to change this? What can I change within myself to create a better end result? And that's the number one thing you get with Four-Legged Scholars, is I empower you to look within yourself, your actions, your behaviors, your thoughts, emotions, and how you can then overtly help your dog to show up in a way that creates more peace in your life. So if you're watching this later, or if you want to comment now, what behaviors in yourself can you change to decrease puppy biting? Definitely write that down, because we want that in your long-term memory so that you can make those changes and have them be long-lasting for yourself. Another question I wanted to ask you guys is, what other topics would you like to see covered in a Facebook Live? I would love as many people that have watched this video to write on there, I want to learn about what to do when my dog's aggressive when people come over, or I want to learn about when my puppy is jumping, or I want to learn about when my dog is guarding objects and growling around food or toys, or I want to learn how to get my dog to come better. I want to learn how to get my dog to walk Lucy on the leash. There are many possibilities. Please let me know what topics that you personally would like me to do in a Facebook Live, because I would like to do more of these. So, everybody that watches this video gets a special for the live puppy biting Zoom webinar. So the live puppy biting Zoom webinar is tomorrow. It's at 6 p.m. And this webinar is very personalized. It's extremely interactive. So it's going to be on Zoom. So you can literally speak to me rather than just chatting in a sentence. It will allow you to learn all of the training techniques and commands that you need to teach your puppy to stop biting you. So I actually have you learn commands. I will walk you through on what clicker training is, how to do clicker training, how to teach your puppy to do down, sit, drop, and leave it. You will also be able to watch videos on how to train these commands so that you can get your puppy to stop biting you, and you will have time to actively practice these commands with your puppy during the webinar. And the stuff that we covered today will be covered more in detail tomorrow. And if you're still lost on how to apply some of this, don't only comment below, but definitely think about, do I want to show up tomorrow and register? Well, you got to pre-register, so you don't want to just show up at 6. Do I want to register for the puppy biting Zoom webinar that is live tomorrow at 6 p.m.? Anyone who watches this Facebook Live gets 50% off this webinar. It's normally $50. You will get it for $25. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link up right now so you can see exactly where to click to get 50% off the live puppy biting Zoom webinar. You will go to this link right here. And oh, we got Christina Marie. Wonderful. I'm glad to see you on here, Christina. All right, so it looks like, I wonder if it's telling me about the correct number of viewers then. When she is tugging on the leash during walks. Ooh, so you want to see that in a Zoom webinar. That's great. And I also think, Christina, a lot of the stuff that you're going to learn in the puppy biting Zoom webinar will help with that. So I definitely would recommend that you go on there, because training Leave It can help with that. Addressing what your puppy's needs are when he's pulling on the leash can help with that. And again, you get it for 25 instead of 50. And then, are you interested in doing private dog training with me? If you are, you can book a free phone chat with me. I'm going to put that in the message below as well. And you can go to this link here and chat with me on the phone, and we can talk, see if private training would be a good match for you, would help you out. I can help you no matter where you live. I do specialize in dog training privately through Zoom. I know a lot of trainers out there that offer it and do an amazing job, and I know some that don't do so great. I will tell you that I've studied under the ones that do a really great job, and my clients are actually telling me that it's better than in person. Many of them are talking a lot about how we can cover so much more because we don't have the drive time. We don't have to settle the dog down when I arrive. I can see how things are naturally when I'm not there. I also can empower you to make sure you know what to do, because I'm never taking the leash, but I am walking you every step of the way through live and video demonstrations and watching you. Plus, I can see the dog in multiple environments, because I can have you do easy videotaping of your dog in multiple different scenarios, give you feedback that way. When it's live and in person, we can only cover one environment at a time. And then lastly, if you want to learn more about the services that I offer, you can go to this link here to learn more about other services. You could go on here, and I actually do have a loose leash walking webinar on there that's pre-recorded. It's really good. Got awesome testimonials on it, and it's a great one that also could help you out, Christina. So with that, you are welcome. I'm glad this has been helpful for you guys. And I hope to see some of you tomorrow at the Puppy Biting Zoom webinar. Definitely share this video with your friends, family, other people that might benefit from it. And, you know, if you share the link to get the 50% off on the live Puppy Biting Zoom webinar, I'm fine with that too. Go ahead. Let people get the deal. I want to help people out, so definitely feel free to share that as well. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. This has been a lot of fun. It's been great having you here. If you have any feedback that you want to give me, definitely put that on there below because that's been a long time since I've done a Facebook Live. It's been a wonderful time with all of you. Thanks so much. Okay, interesting. I hit end video and it's not ending. I had a difficult time with starting it as well. So if anyone has any ideas on that's still on here on how to do this, let me know. If you end this video now, you'll be able to choose if you want to save or delete it. Okay, great. I will hit end. And I'm still alive. Why? I wonder if something's going on with Facebook. Still not working. I don't know what else I would hit. Judith, have you done this before? Do you know what I need to hit? Because I don't understand why it won't leave when I hit end live video. I'm definitely going to tell Facebook about this one. I'd hate to just close out because then I won't save it. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to let it sit for a little bit and then try it again because I don't know what's going to happen if I just hit the close button if it's not going to save it. So if anyone is still on here and you have questions, comment below. I'm going to go get a drink of water. I wonder if waiting did anything.